Welcome to another edition of our chat with the Millennials. It's the political presidential election, and at Byers and Company, every once in a while, we like to check in with our young professionals, and in this case, student, and find out what they're finding out by watching all the craziness of the 2016 presidential election campaign. So I will introduce our guest, Caitlin, who is interning for us for a second time. That's right. She survived the first and actually signed up to come back again. And you're going to be a junior at the University of Illinois. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm a junior there.
All right. She is an ag communications major. What is it actually called again?
Agricultural communications.
All right,
Yeah.
So she's really smart, but still a college kid. Christina, Kyle, and Sujin round out the cast, young professionals in our community that not only have up-and-coming jobs in the community, but they're volunteers, they're plugged in, and so we wanted to pull them in today and just pick their brain, not so much about their political ideology, but just what do they think about these candidates that are out there, because it has been an unbelievable election cycle before so far. We've got a couple of weeks before the primary hits Illinois. Who will remain standing and be there is uncertain at this point. So welcome to all of you. Let's just start with, have you in your young lives seen anything remotely close to this election cycle?
Being the youngest here, I probably don't have as much experience in that, but I did pay attention, for sure when Obama was running. That's kind of the first real election I can remember. And for me, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
But does it seem the same to you?
No, not at all. It seems like a completely different ballgame this year than any of the elections I've witnessed.
Christina?
I would agree. I have voted in two other presidential elections. Both, of course, Obama won.
Yeah.
This is very different. Now, as an adult, as a professional, a working professional, a mom, everything's really different this time around.
But you're looking at it with different priorities.
I am.
Yeah.
But I think from conversations with family, friends, coworkers, it's just a very different election, especially on one side versus the other.
All right, Kyle, you're a political junkie. Does this whole thing feel different to you?
I would say it is, just for the mere fact that nobody's really separated themselves on either side to this point. When you go back to 2008, you pretty much knew it was going to be Obama against McCain most likely by this point, as well as 2012.
I don't know. People forget. Hillary and Obama fought it out all the way. There was that went into
Well,
June.
that's
almost.
true. Well,
I think a lot of people thought he would be the nominee.
It was a little more clear than
and it was
is
more
now.
like when are you going to drop out to
Right.
Hillary? But we did have some contention.
That's true. Yeah.
So Jen.
Yeah, this election seems so different. It almost seems disorganized. It's almost like a whirlwind of information and people's opinions coming into this. It doesn't seem as organized as the previous with Obama.
Okay, what do you guys hear from your friends and acquaintances? Not necessarily coworkers, but people you might have a beer with on a Friday night or a drink. Let's start with the Democrats. On a college campus, right? I think most of us assume there's a lot of Democrat-leaning, students. That it would probably President Obama did very well, in 2008 with the young crowd. You've got Hillary Clinton, who I think everyone thought was the presumptive nominee on the Democrat side. Bernie Sanders kind of comes out of nowhere, and I look at him as kind of like the dog that caught the car. I'm not sure he knows exactly what to do right now, but the young people seem to be leaning towards Bernie. Is that the same on the campus of the U of I?
I think yes and no. I think most of the campus is still pretty split. Honestly, I think what it comes down to on U of I's campus is Hillary Clinton's a female, and honestly, right now on U of I's campus, there's a lot of powerful young women students, and so they want to see a woman in office. When it comes to actual student policy, I think more people are leaning towards Bernie, but I think even the students haven't made up their mind yet.
When you talk about young feminists on the campus of a college, Gloria Steinem and Madeleine Albright have stepped in it recently, trying to appeal to those women, meaning you have to support a woman. Does that? Have we not evolved any more than that? That I'm a woman, so I'm going to vote for a woman just because it's a woman and I'm a woman?
No, I think yes.
And I don't mean you speaking for yourself. I just mean in general.
I don't think people have moved on from that. I think everyone was very, very caught up in Obama being the first African American president.
Okay.
And so I think that is still projecting forward, and there are a lot of feminists on campus who are very taken by the idea of the first woman president, and they don't really care about the policy. They just want to see a woman in the White House.
But do they relate to Hillary Clinton? It seems like she's having a harder time getting that connection to the younger voters. And it's not an age thing because Bernie's older than she is, but for whatever reason, he seems to be resonating. Kyle, I mean,
well, Hillary's a little different in the fact that she's already a deeply established political family. She's a legacy, really. So I think that would probably separate her from a lot of other female candidates, like Carly Fiorina, now former candidate, I guess, because she kind of came from outside the political sphere, but especially
and
people our age,
politics
right?
On campuses in America.
That's
I mean,
true.
let's be honest.
That's true. But people our age, I mean, we always have a memory of Hillary in one way or another, always being there. So I think she's just a little bit different. And we're in her background.
Sue Jim, when you look at Bernie Sanders, does he speak to you?
He does not speak to me personally, but I think that he has a lot of appeal to the younger millennials, the lower half of this, and to the uneducated voters. The things that he's saying in his front slogan of his campaign, tuition and taxing the rich and things like that, those are very appealing to.
Well, when you're stacking up a lot of student debt and college costs a lot, I mean, that's speaking to you personally in your life. As Christina said, you get older, you have kids, your priorities change, and then you maybe look at it a little differently. It seems to be promising an awful lot. Do people buy that? I mean, President Obama promised a lot, and now we kind of see how expensive some of that is. When Hillary Clinton was trying to make health insurance free, P.J. O'Rourke, the great columnist, said, if you think insurance is expensive now, wait until it's free. We find now there's cost. But are college kids just still college kids in some ways? They believe in the idealism of a candidate?
I'm in an interesting position because of my program. I'm partially in the College of Aces and partially in the College of Media, which means the two sides that I hear on campus are either very conservative or very liberal. And I think the liberal side is all about it. They think it's a great idea. They're on board. They think Bernie's great. I think the conservative side is very against Bernie. He recently came out and said that he wants to give farm kids free tuition.
Yeah.
And you'd think that would maybe win him some Republican votes, and I think instead it just offended most of the College of Aces that he thinks that he thinks farming isn't important, that he thinks...
Well, I think that...
And I'm not taking it like that, but I do know that that's the general consensus of the College of Aces.
Well, I don't want to spend all day on, like I said, on the individual ideology. There's a whole argument to be made, what is something worth when everything is free? I mean, and what does that do to initiative and effort and people lifting themselves up? And, that's why communism and or socialism, which Bernie is an avowed socialist, hasn't worked in most places in the world when they've tried it over time, is because it does dampen down the spirit.